Hi, it's Robin. I don't usually get into personal stuff here, but it's all part of a story of a trip that I recently took that involves some 8-bit Commodore stuff that we'll get to later in the video. So check the chapter index or timestamp on screen if you want to skip some unpleasant stuff and jump ahead to the Commodore part. So 2025 has been kind of rough. Back in March, my dad had a bit of a health scare, and we spent several hours in the hospital emergency department getting him checked out. He eventually was feeling better and got discharged around midnight, so I brought him back to his place, got him settled in, and then started driving myself home, relieved things seemed better. So I'm driving the main street through a residential area, and a drunk driver speeds through a stop sign on my left and smashes right into my driver's door, then bounced off and spun around 180 degrees before stopping. I had no time at all to avoid anything. The force sent my vehicle up over the curb onto the sidewalk. Because I was in a full-size van, a 2010 Ford E350, and the drunk was in a smaller car, the impact was below me. I was mostly okay besides my left elbow being bruised up, presumably from hitting the door and being really sore for a week or so. I would have been in really rough shape if I was in something smaller. So for that, I'm thankful. And I guess the drunk was okay because he got out of his car with his hoodie over his head and ran away. I won't go on about that, but the lasting impact is that my van, our family vehicle, was wrecked. The insurance company decided it was a write-off, and I eventually got $15,000 Canadian, of course, that's where I live. That seems like a good amount for an old van, but with vehicle prices inflating a huge amount in recent years, it doesn't go very far towards another vehicle, even something very equivalent. So one of my hobbies has become watching the used vehicle market, looking for a good replacement. It's easiest to buy here within Ontario because all vehicles have to be safety certified to register them. If I buy in the province, then that can be taken care of at the time of purchase, and I'm good to drive it right away. If I buy from out of province, then I have to get it here and then get it certified, which might be expensive depending on what new problems are found with it. It's a hassle. Buying from the USA would be even worse with lots of extra red tape, never mind the new tariffs and all that. However, these big passenger vans aren't very common, especially up here in Thunder Bay. In the 6 or 7 months I've been watching, I've only seen 3 that have come even close to what I want, but they didn't tick all the boxes on my list. Basically, I just want what I had before the accident. I was perfectly happy with that vehicle. These vans show up around the Toronto area more often, just because there's a lot more people and vehicles down there, but that's about 1,500 kilometers away from us. There are daily direct flights there, so it's not like I can't go there at all, but it's still a bit of an undertaking to get there and then a good long drive back. So then this van showed up online. It seemed pretty much perfect. It was almost exactly the same as my old van, same color, 1 year newer, it's the same extended model, almost the same mileage, and the price wasn't way more than what I got from insurance. I shouldn't have to justify why I want a big van like this, but I'm sure some of you will have questions. So, like I said, I just wanted what I had before the accident. It was perfect for my big family. Everyone can fit in it. And I had the back bench out, so it seats 11 people and has enough room at the back for our weekly haul of groceries, or for my bass rig, my amp, etc., or a bunch of old computers for the Retro Computer Club. So we've made do with our minivans in the meantime, but not a week has gone by without the phrase, "I miss the old big van," being said by multiple people in our family, including me. So we were considering this van. Then we got invited to my wife's cousin's 50th birthday party, also in southern Ontario. And we were reminded that my wife's uncle had a bunch of Commodore stuff that he was looking to give me as he's starting to downsize. So a plan started to form. Maybe we could do 3 important things in one trip. We'd fly down to Toronto, buy that big van, drive it an hour's north to Barrie, go to the birthday party, visit family, load up a bunch of 8-bit Commodore stuff, and then drive the rest of the 1,500 kilometers back to Thunder Bay. I put a $1,000 deposit on the van so the dealer would have it ready to go when we got there. We booked our flights and awaited our adventure. I was nervous about things going wrong, particularly with this long-distance van purchase, but I'm often a bit too cynical about these things. Enough things seem to be lining up right. So my wife and I fly out of Thunder Bay early on a Friday morning. The flight is about 2 hours. We arrive in Toronto at Billy Bishop Airport, downtown. We make our way to Union Station. Then we take the subway up to the station nearest the dealership. Eventually, someone comes to pick us up. In the van, we're looking at purchase. It looks pretty good as it rolls up. So my wife tries to open the sliding side door so she can sit in the back seat, and she can barely move it. Sorry I don't have footage of this. I had to help give it a big push. Not a good sign, as our younger kids should be able to open the door themselves. Then I go to step on the running board, the step along the side of the van, which is one of the reasons I wanted this van. These vans are up high, and we drive my mother-in-law frequently. She's very close to 80 years old, and there's no way she'd be able to get up into it without the step. Well, the whole step shakes and bends when I put my foot on it. I'm not even putting my considerable full weight on it. The upper plastic of the step looks good, but the metal underneath is rusted out, I later learned. We're driven back to the dealership, climb out of the van, avoiding the step. I start looking around the van more, and I notice that the rear passenger tire is visibly low on air. It's really obvious compared to the other tires. They say, oh, it just needs air. But I've been around long enough to know that there's usually a problem that causes a tire to go low, especially when just one is low. Then I open up the back doors of the van, and I can hardly believe what I see. It took several seconds for me to understand what I was looking at here. Dangling from the end of the seatbelt is the seatbelt anchor attached to a chunk of rotted out, rusted floor. The floor is hanging there. It really took me a while to understand what I was seeing. Then I looked down at the floor where the seatbelt should have been anchored, pulled back the carpet, and there was a hole right through the floor of the van, and I could see the pavement or daylight right through it. So, in my unprofessional opinion, that's two safety issues right there, a broken seatbelt and holes in the passenger cabin. Here in Ontario, we actually have a supposedly strict safety system where vehicles have to be certified by certain licensed mechanics at certain licensed garages so that they can be transferred to new owners. And this van apparently was certified maybe just 10 days before we were there. Here's the certificate, and there's the shop and the mechanic info, in case anyone's interested in that. It's actually available on the Ontario Ministry of Transportation website if you put the VIN in, the vehicle identification number. At least it should be until about mid-November of 2025, I think. So the dealer says he'll get that hole fixed up. We should bring the van to this body shop, gives me the address. So we drive it there. It drives okay, but while I was driving, my wife was trying out the climate controls, the HVAC, and found that the front blower fan controls were totally broken. The rear one was working properly, clicking at each stop as it should, and we could hear the fan back there blowing, but the front control was basically seized up. And then if you forced it, it didn't click. It just kind of moved in this not right way, and the fan never blew. Now, those of you who live where it's always warm might not know this or might not be able to understand this, but this is a major safety concern here in Canada, as you must be able to defrost the front windshield with warm, fast-moving air, or your window will freeze up and you'll have no visibility. It's pretty scary when you're on the highway and it's minus 30 or 40 Celsius and the inside of the windshield is getting layered with ice. I've had it happen. It's something that's supposed to be verified as part of a safety in Ontario. So I think that's a third strike. When we get to the body shop, I also notice there's a strange periodic whining sound, maybe every 15 seconds coming from the front end. I eventually figured out the sound stopped if I turned the HVAC selector control to off. But if it was in defrost or vent or air conditioning or whatever, then that whining kept happening. I think it was the electric motors or whatever it is that moves the baffles around to redirect the air in the HVAC system. Like they're trying to move and failing and then retrying. But that's just a guess. Oh yeah, and then I finally realized I've only been given one key, the key, like the old school ignition key for the van. There is only one, and there's no key fob for the power locks. They've been lost or whatever. So we drop the van off at the body shop, we get a ride back to the dealer, and we try to work through the problems. The one key and the missing key fob, that's apparently my fault for not asking about it. And no, he doesn't need to disclose that ahead of time. Okay, fine, my mistake. That running board step on the passenger side, he'll remove it. He won't replace it, even though it was there in the pictures and it looked good. And that was an important feature to me. I suppose I should have asked if that step actually works as a step or if it's just cosmetic. The slow leaking tire is fine. It just needs some air. The guy at the body shop joked that the tire has plenty of air. It's just all at the top of the tire. The hole in the floor, the seatbelt anchor, the body shop, we're supposed to fix that, but it was Friday afternoon by then, and we couldn't wait around for days in Toronto for them to get it done the following week after the weekend. And now that I've actually read the safety standards, I see on page 67, it says, repair of holes in the floor of the vehicle due to corrosion perforation is permitted, provided that the hole does not extend into a structural area of the floor, such as seatbelt anchors, seat supports, or rocker panels. So the seatbelt anchors are considered structural, so therefore the holes cannot be repaired. So does the entire floor need to be replaced? Or is the whole thing unfixable? I don't know. Those are questions I now have. The front windshield defroster would also need fixing at a garage, which he said he'd get done. But again, it would take quite a while as parts would need to be ordered and that work done. I was told it wasn't their fault I was from out of town. That's true. But I did make it clear from the beginning a couple weeks earlier that I was from out of town and they had time to have the vehicle ready. It's certainly not my fault that they delivered a vehicle with a hole where a seatbelt should be or any of these other problems. And then there's the matter of all the rust that had set in. It's already put a hole right through the floor in one spot. And how long would it be until there were other holes and other serious problems? Maybe there were already more holes. It's not like I could put it up on a lift with good lighting and take a look. I just found all this by crawling around under the van in the parking lot. The dealer did try and make some concessions, like offering maybe $500 off to help pay for an extra flight for me to come back later once repairs were done. But that seemed like small consolation given the number of problems. I think it should have just been done right in the first place, in my opinion. I saw all these problems within minutes once I was there in person. I understand mistakes can happen, but in my opinion, this was just too much. Just going to quote a few things from the ad on the website, which might still be there when you watch this. You will have a pleasant shopping experience that is fun, informative, and never high-pressured. And how about this one? Vehicle inspection. Before showcasing our vehicles, we have them inspected to meet high standards and customer expectations. Vehicles are thoroughly detailed inside and out. And here's one more. We take our costumer safety and the quality of our vehicles very seriously. As a result, each vehicle is pre-inspected and fully detailed before it is put up for sale. So anyway, after quite a bit of consideration, my wife and I decided we weren't going through with the purchase. We were told fine, but there would be cancellation fees, and we would be told by the end of the day what they were. But now we're almost 2 weeks on, and we still have not been told what the fees are. They've kept our $1,000 deposit, and they have totally ignored my requests to return it. There's been no contact from them since, despite multiple attempts that I've tried. We did not sign the contract, and the OMVIC, the Ontario Motor Vehicle Industry Council, I think, who is the Ontario regulator of vehicle sales, website says, if you give a dealer a deposit for the purchase of a vehicle, but no contract is signed, you can request your deposit back at any time and the dealer must comply. Okay, so back to the story. We were out on the street with no vehicle, 1,500 kilometers from home. My wife's in tears. I feel like a moron. We actually had no idea what to do for a little while. We considered giving up on the trip and trying to book flights back to Thunder Bay. But to do that last minute, there are hundreds of dollars more for the flight than when you book ahead. Then, very fortunately, we found a one-way car rental at an Enterprise rent-a-car only a few kilometers away. And it was the only one available in North York as far as we could find, like one vehicle, a Corolla Cross. It's a small SUV, and it included unlimited kilometers. We booked it over the phone. We took our first Uber ever. It was like $12 to the car rental place. So thank you to that driver. And then another $580 or so. And we had a rental vehicle for 3 days so we could still visit the family and get home. Big thumbs up to Enterprise for doing those one-way car rentals. They're not very common, at least not around here. So I probably should have known better than to buy from this place. They do have some pretty bad reviews on Google, though while I've been searching for a vehicle, almost every used car dealer has a bunch of bad reviews, so it's hard to know. Their overall rating on Google is 4.2 stars out of 5, which sounds pretty good. Coincidentally, V Westlife just reviewed one of these energy-saving devices on Amazon. How about that? It also has a 4.2 star rating, so it must be pretty good. Guess you can decide for yourself by looking at those Google reviews. I noticed this one response from the dealer to a negative review. We have taken the necessary steps to ensure that this kind of online bullying is put to an end by contacting Google, Federal Trade Commission, FTC, and the proper authorities. And because I'm sure some of you will ask, I did file a complaint with OMVIC about the dealer, and they've told me that they're escalating my case, so I'm waiting for the next steps there. I would like to get my $1,000 back. I also tried to file a complaint with the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario, the MTO, that regulates the safety certifications. I want to tell them about this safety certification that was passed by that garage despite the broken seatbelt, a hole in the floor, the broken windshield defrost. But I was told that since I didn't actually buy the vehicle, I can't complain about the safety. This seems wrong to me. Shouldn't they be concerned about these 30-minute safeties that either miss or ignore important things? Anyway, all I can do is mention this to anyone that will listen and warn everyone to be diligent, even if you're not here in Ontario. Anywhere you are, be careful out there. Okay, that's enough about all that negative stuff. Sorry about bringing all that up, but I don't want other people to go through what we did, or worse, to spend lots of money on an unsafe vehicle. Okay, so now that we had this rental car, things did get better. My wife and I were still able to go on a shopping trip to IKEA for the first time in several years, and we bought various things for the house and had Swedish meatball poutine. Yes, we're simple people. Then we drove north to Barrie and had a very enjoyable visit with family, celebrating the birthday. It was the first time I had met some of my wife's relatives. They were very friendly, and there were some genuinely nerdy people to hang out with. One cousin was a big fan of Usagi Electric on YouTube and had never heard of my channel, so I found that kind of funny. Another grew up with the Tandy color computer, and I heard his stories about his experiences programming it as a kid. We never forget those first experiences on the computer. Another guy, he fixes up more modernish used computers and gives them to people who need them. Lots of good nerds. On to some Commodore stuff. This next section was recorded at my wife's uncle and aunt's place. Uncle Mike has been a Commodore fan for 40-something years and used to run a bulletin board system on his Commodore 64. They've visited us up in Thunder Bay in the past, but this is the first time I've been to their house. So this is an impromptu look around his little computer office where the BBS was. It's been offline for many years, but quite a bit of Commodore remains there. So here's a 5-minute visit, just like a little hangout with Uncle Mike. Okay, tell us about your BBS.
I started off at sysop for the Barrie Users Group.
Okay, there's a user group here in Barrie, and you ran the computer BBS.
There was actually a lot of numerous BBSs going on in Barrie and vicinity.
And this was, what we think, about 80, 84? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Thereabouts. The Durcon 3 BBS added some other things. Basically, it had message
system.
Upload, download. They had links. You could have a game link. You could have chess. There's one called the Love Link. Nothing
happened there.
And we also had an area where if people were having problems, kids were getting beaten up or something like that, we had a professional gentleman who would come on in, and we'd find them places or get them help.
Yeah. So a way for youth to reach out through the computer, seeking help.
Well, there's games and everything else that we could play.
So was that all under the Barrie? That was all the Barrie
Actually,
group?
It started off as the Barrie Users Group, but they only had one 1001 disk drive and a 1541 and a black and white TV. 12-inch, and it wasn't much. So I later on picked up some of this stuff at shows, but I say these are extras that I've picked up, but they were basically the 1001s that were operating. And then I had I can never remember, the 8050 is...
8050 is the big double disk drive,
and they would sit here and here.
Okay.
I had a big 12 or 24-inch screen. It would sit up there. Would be a filter on it. And it would. You ran a big cube fan, like a big square fan. Just
for ventilation. Yeah. There it is. As your cooling system.
This wasn't here at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
So you had more room.
Yeah.
And
so this is when you took the BBS into your own hands. 80.
That did it for about 7 years.
Wow. So what, 85 or 86 until 93 maybe?
Thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Trudy had a cooking spot.
Oh, she had her own cooking section.
And then she would write recipes on there and what to do and all that. And man, there's a lot of, it wasn't just for the 64.
Yeah.
I learned more about other makes of computers.
Yes.
The MS-DOS or IBM, what do you want to call it. But on that side, I did teach word processing here, and thered be one person here.
Yeah, you had a little computer lab down here. Now you got a modern computer there now.
A lot of this wasn't, it was rearranged.
So you still have a lot of your discs. Oh yeah, and so here's you got a 1581 collection here.
1581s.
Yeah.
1541-2s.
Yeah, a whole bank of 1541 2s.
Yeah.
So how many disk drives could you have online at once on your BBS
I actually had two systems. One was over here.
Oh, okay.
And one was over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's something that was sort of odd. Okay, the phone line came on in here. I had two phone lines. We had a electrical shock come on through.
Yeah.
The modem was fine.
Oh.
Okay, but the what do we call it? The RF. But
it
blew it. But the modem, and it had to go past the modem first.
Yeah, it went through the modem.
And that was odd.
That is odd.
It was really odd. And then, thanks to you, I got some bus cards and printers, and we had every system had. It was a complete system in itself. 2 drives to each system, printer, paper.
Yeah.
I even got color on it.
Yeah. Sorry that you have a pet groomer clipper. Pet groomer takes on a different connotation in a Commodore computer room, eh? A pet,
If you ever see one of these.
Yeah, video sender.
Pick it up.
Okay.
Now this is for the analogs. Before they went all the digital.
All digital, yeah.
So it works great. I could transmit from here.
Yeah.
out to where the spray thing is.
Yeah, okay. Your bird,
yeah.
The bird bath or
and,
the bird, okay.
It brings in better color, better sound.
Oh, okay.
And you can do that with the 64 coming on in.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so would you watch your BBS from out in the yard?
I can watch it out there. And
that's pretty good.
Sound and everything.
Yeah.
But
have you got any Commodore calculators, or those are other brands? I guess.
Brands.
Yeah. I am collecting Commodore calculators. They used to make them before the PET.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I actually have about a dozen of them now. Sorry for the abrupt end there. I didn't think to record a proper ending. So thanks to Uncle Mike for showing us around. Mike was also kind enough to send us home with 10 boxes of computer goodies that they had already packed up, which happened to be exactly how much room we had in the little rental SUV without kind of dangerously double stacking the boxes and affecting visibility and all that. It was basically perfect. So on the last day, we drove the remaining 1,400 kilometers home from Barrie to Thunder Bay. That's a pretty long drive for one day, with the majority of it just having a 90-kilometer-an-hour speed limit, 55 miles an hour, and just a single lane each direction with occasional passing lanes. But it was great to have 15 hours or whatever it was together just to talk about stuff without any of the interruptions of regular life. That's the first time my wife and I have been on a trip in a lot of years. Okay, so the rental's being unloaded and returned, and it's time to look in these boxes. I actually have almost no idea what's in these. Some of them have labels, but Uncle Mike said they're not very accurate. There's probably magazines or books in a couple because they're super heavy for the size. These are big paper boxes, that probably held 10 packs of 500 sheets of paper. I sure hope there's some good stuff in here. I've got my camera stand hiked up as high as I can. I can actually barely see the screen, so apologies in advance if some sections of this are out of focus or whatever. This is basically the best I can do. Maybe I should get one of those ceiling mount camera things or whatever, eh? Okay. So most of these are just kind of taped up. I won't make a big deal about each unboxing. This is the first box though, so we'll go through the process. Okay, here goes. What's inside? Ooh! I actually wasn't expecting a whole box of VIC-20s. Okay. And I guess they have various problems. Some of them anyway. Okay. Wow. Keyboard's in really nice shape. One VIC-20. Actually, I'm interested in the serial numbers on these. Made in the USA and serial number P. That's the later series. Okay, here's another P series VIC-20. Yeah, and most of them will probably have this keyboard that's like the Commodore 64. That one's got a couple keys missing. Again, I'm not complaining. If I point out any flaws, don't take it as me criticizing Uncle Mike. He's just basically just like me. He's got lots of Commodore stuff, and I'm thankful for any of it, and we'll figure out what to do with the rest. Oh, nice. Okay. So this is a CC one made in Canada. This has what is actually the most rare VIC-20 keyboard of all. I know everybody says that the VIC-20s with PET style or PET keyboards are the most sought after and they're the most rare. It's fine if they're the most sought after, but they are not the most rare in my opinion. These ones with what sometimes is called the Euro style keyboard, which is kind of like the PET style, but a little bit thinner, has all these small ones. Actually, they've got, interesting. It almost looks like they have paper on top. I don't want to try and peel that off now. Anyway, very interesting. This is a neat looking keyboard. And one more. Okay, so another CC keyboard made in Canada, but this one has the Commodore 64 style keyboard, which really is the most common. Really neat. And of course, not necessarily all these keyboards were what originally came in it. Certainly possible some of them switched around or whatever. Okay. I have to actually box most of these back up because there's, I think there's so much stuff, I don't know where I'm going to store everything. Well, that'd be something if I busted the keyboards up more. That would be dumb and bad. Okay, box number 1. 4 VIC-20s. One with a super rare keyboard. Alright, I got all 10 boxes on a big portable shelving unit at the other end of the room, so each time I bring a new box, I've actually walked many meters. Not that I can't do it, it just takes time. Here, I'm walking away. Can you hear me? Okay, box 1. Done. Box 2. Okay, that one's actually taped up. Oh, okay. Yeah, DVD player. And why not? Ooh, wow. Okay, this is... Not that I was expecting garbage from Uncle Mike, but this is actually like way better than I expected even. The graphics book for the Commodore 64. I do want to try and get everything to fit back in here again. Kodak diskette file. Ooh, GEOS 2. GEOS. Mostly GEOS. Logo. Or GEOS discs inside of there. Okay, and some data sets. So yeah, this is one of the older style ones. Chuck Hutchins would know exactly what this one is. But this was kind of like, I think, from the later PET and very early VIC-20 era. Before they switched to this one, which became ubiquitous during the late VIC-20 and Commodore 64 era. Okay, and maybe I'm not going to take every last thing out because... Oh, Heart of Africa with the manual, original disc. Nice. Flight Simulator Copilot. Movie Musical Madness. Start with Basic on the Commodore VIC-20. Sim City. Nice. Early Games for Young Children. By Springboard. Some titles here I don't have. Test Drive from Accolade. Nice. Summer Games 2. Ooh. Championship Wrestling. I did not expect a whole bunch of like nice box software here. These are a little too tight. I'm going to take one thing out so that I'm not crushing them when I shove them back in there. Epic's Destroyer. Quite a few games I don't have here. At least I don't have them boxed. Original calc result. The spreadsheet. Cartridge version. Wow. That's that Handic. I think they were... I don't think I've ever said that aloud before. That's kind of funny. I think that's a Swedish company. Flight Simulator 2. I don't think I have a box copy of that either. Hey, 8050 discs. That's for the PET. Normally, but I think Mike used them. Yeah, Mike has BBS here for the 64 on an 8050. So probably some of that is BBS software. Oh, hey. Some of these 13.33 centimeter discs. I did that whole video about, what was it, 3.17 centimeter from Canadian Retro Things, Ken. These were packed so well. I'll make sure I can get them back in there again. Oh, this all fit. It's like I have to watch my video again to pack these. That'll do. Somehow I lost like 2 inches of height there. Okay, game box 3. Oh. Actually pretty good exercise. Oh. Okay, is this 4 Commodore 64s? Okay, that looks nice. Oh, more made in Canada ones. Nice. Yeah, I think the C64 was made here for the first couple years, and then production, I think, moved. We just started importing US ones after a while. And then I think even the US stopped making them, and it was just overseas ones after a while. Okay, here's another 64. Sorry if some of these I don't get in here. Another made in Canada. I'm going to have to go through all these serial numbers later. Wow. Instant collection of VIC-20s. And now an instant collection of Canadian-made Commodore 64s. Isn't it funny how they'll be yellowed to such different degrees? Okay, and there's a made in USA one with the P prefix. By the way, with serial numbers, always include, like, if there's a prefix, I'm not talking just about Commodore, but all machines, a lot of people seem to just ignore the leading letter or a couple letters. I've seen people say low serial number, like first ever made, but, it's from one of these later production lines. So actually, it's not like an early instance of a C64 at all, even though the serial number might be fairly low, because each of these letters represents a different production line, usually in a different location or sometimes in the same location, but they restarted production or for whatever reason. So when you talk about serial numbers for any product, always include those prefixes like a P or whatever it is. Oh. And number 4 is one of those more kind of gray ones. They always look more dignified to me. Again, made in Canada. Yeah, so that's just in the 100,000. In fact, that, for all I know, this run might have started at 100,000. So this might only be like number 6,533 or whatever. Whew. X4. Wow, no wonder this one's getting heavy. It has power supplies in it. This one's going to be hard to repack. Okay, VIC-20 cartridges or cassettes. Okay, Kmart. Interesting. C60. Therapy. Uh-oh. Christmas tree. Sorry, my camera work's probably going to be worse than usual. I'm not used to recording this many different things. Memo writer from Compute's Gazette. Robot Math. Embassy. So a whole bunch of tapes. Probably a mix of VIC-20 and Commodore 64. Woolcrest tape. I don't think I've ever seen that brand before. Potato and egg salad, I hope not. That's a whole bunch of TV switch boxes. Okay, some more creative software. Pipes. Box cartridge games here. Apple Panic. Household Finance. And Serpentine. This is a lot better than I expected. Like, it's not like I expected a whole 10 boxes of Commodore power supplies, but this is really good. Okay, so there are, 4 or 5 power supplies in there. Okay, and down in here, what's here? Ooh, lots more VIC-20 cartridges. Programmer's Aid cartridge. Apple Panic. Ooh, awesome. Okay, I am excited about this because at ThunderCon this year, which I mentioned in that last Specky video, the Thunder Bay Retro Computer Club, we set up a display of old computers, and I met a guy who watches the channel. His name's Justin, and now we've become friends. We went and hung out, had coffee, and he sold me 2 Atari Soft VIC-20 cartridges that I've been looking for ages. But we also, we talked about all kinds of stuff. I didn't just want him for his cartridges. So we were talking about this company here called, let's see if the name's there, Lane Marketing in Toronto, Ontario. I don't know if I'm right about this. I need to do more research. They might have been the biggest distributor of Commodore software, like the biggest publisher of Commodore software in Canada, at least for number of titles or something. I don't know this for sure. I mean, compared to like the US and the UK, like England in particular, Canada lagged way behind in game development in these early years. We really caught up after a while in the more modern era with game studios in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal that are making world-class games nowadays or over the last 20, maybe even 30 years. But back in the early days, I don't know, well, actually I have a theory about why we were a little slow to it, but I'll get into that some other time. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point is that I've become fascinated with this lane marketing, and I started talking to Justin. He's got a bunch of games. I got a bunch of games. Now I have even more thanks to Mike. Yeah, I'd love to make a video about them. If anybody else has done research on lane marketing, then contact me. And if you want to help out, and of course I'll give you credits and shout outs. This isn't about who gets the glory, but just preserving history. And yeah, lane marketing, some of you will know that some of these they did republish a bunch of Romic games, which I guess was from England. Yeah, and they actually did credit them at least most of the time. I'm sure it was all legal, like they had an agreement. Anyway, sorry I'm rambling. But what I'm excited about here, well, look, even like this is a US game by Broderbund, but this is the Areola Soft version of it from the UK, I think, and somehow he got it. Wait, here's that Canadian Tire tape. I actually have this already. I will find good homes for some of this stuff that, like, if it's doubles or whatever. Insector, Space Attack. Oh, multiple copies of that Canadian Tire tape. That's pretty cool. RAM Expander, Super Smash. For ages, I've been playing a video on these Commodore cartridges. Omega Race, Mission Impossible. Home Babysitter, Gorf, Garden Wars. There, Atari Soft. I now have a complete collection of these. Recently got Dig Dug. But maybe I can trade with some friends or something. Creative Software, Choplifter. And Trashman. Okay. Okay, and what's in the other half here? Oh, even more. Like 20 cartridges. Wow. In the Chips, Household Finance. Another one of those Canadian Tire tapes. Threshold by Sierra Online. Super Smash, Raid on Fort Knox. Omega Race, Jupiter Lander, Home Babysitter, Gorf, Garden Wars, Cosmic Cruncher, Clowns, and another Choplifter. Expertly packed, you guys. These are heavier than... Okay, number 5. Ooh, more C64s. Okay, a 64C. And I think there's actually at least 2 different styles of64C keyboards. I feel like this one with the bolder return and shift are a little more rare, but I'm not certain of that. Okay, and that's from the CA production line made in USA, so I think that's one of the California lines. Okay, and Mike's include notes on each one. What is wrong with them? Okay, another 64, and this has the orange function keys, like whatever you want to call them, tan, which are a bit more associated with the VIC-20, but there's no rules about that. Boy, there's a lot of made in Canada 64s. It's funny that even though I had already had quite a few C64s before this, I had far fewer that were made in Canada. And maybe that's just because I'm further west, maybe down in the Southern Ontario area. They're just that much more common. When power supply plugged into 120 keyboard, no red light, no C64 sign on top of screen, maybe nothing from keyboard monitor. Okay. I don't know if I've ever seen one where so many of the symbols on the front of the keys were worn off, but that's actually really unusual. In my experience, C64 keys are extremely durable. I don't mean like from impact, they break off if they're mistreated. But as far as the actual writing on them, or whatever you want to call it, the printing found it very durable. So it's interesting that it's faded or disappeared. Like that key, the J key, it's almost entirely gone. But it's not just where somebody would type, because you would think if it was due to a touch typer, J would be worn out, but so would F. And F is actually perfect. So is that like a sort of a manufacturing flaw? I don't know. And yet another made in Canada one. Okay, and number 4. Okay, another one. This one's quite a bit more yellowed, if we want to call it that. It's oranged. Ah, no serial number. The badge is missing. So many 64s. I'm sure some of you are going to get comments. What are you going to do with all those computers? Or like, you're the guy who's keeping them all. I want them. And all that. I don't know. What can I say? Jealous? I don't know. Anyway, I will find new homes for at least some of these. Okay, we're halfway through. That's 5. I just realized the boxes, I started at the top of my shelving unit. I put the lightest boxes at the top. So we're getting into the even heavier ones now. Box number 6. So this is by far the largest box. You see, it just totally doesn't fit in the camera. That's not the heaviest. The heaviest ones are going to be like 9 and 10, I think. Okay, so sorry this doesn't really fit in the camera. I'll try to watch what I'm putting up there. What is this going to be? I can't even imagine what. Oh! Boxed. Whoa! A boxed VIC-20 and a boxed C64. I'm running out of room here. I think this one I will have to totally unpack and then reload after. Okay, some sort of Canada Dry box. And this Commodore 64 in box. Okay, so we've got sub-unboxings, boxes within boxes here. What's going on here? Oh, okay, another VIC-20, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, with the C64 keyboard. Made in Canada, model VIC-20 CC 645721. It's got an RF cable and IEC cable with it. Okay, so that's what the skinny box is. Alright, still has the styrofoam in it. Serial number SC182803 on the box. Find out if it matches, if there is indeed a C64 in here. Yep, there it is. With the power supply. No, it does not have the matching serial number. Well, that's okay. This is another 125388 made in Canada. Who knows, maybe the matching one is somewhere in here. Maybe we've already looked at it and I don't remember. There we go. Oh, a V serial number. These are the earliest made in USA. So you know what that means. Yes, there is the mythical pet style keyboard. It does look nice. Yeah, some of the keys are yellowed, but that would just happen because it's not like they make all these all the same batch. I think they would make a whole bunch of Qs and a whole bunch of Ws and so on. And so that's why you sometimes get this kind of uneven discoloration where just the W gets discolored, but the Q and the E are fine. But that can be improved somewhat. Even if you just give it a good clean, that helps. Anyway, I don't get too hung up on that. Cool stuff. That is neat to have more of these V serial number VIC-20s. I think the one kind of VIC-20 I don't have is a made in Japan VIC-20. I do have a VIC-1001, which of course is made in Japan. Yeah, I need to see the Zeller's tag. This wouldn't be the same one. The box serial number is CC592095. And this was sold in Canada, VIC-20 through the store Zeller's. One of my favorite old stores that's gone now. Okay, packing up number 6. Gotta keep the pace. Oh. These ones are getting heavy. Okay. Oh, no wonder they're so heavy. Looks like disk drives, probably 1541s. Well, we have a surprise here. Yeah, there's a 1541 with a latch. I'm just checking in case any of them have been modified or upgraded in any visible way. Now that one. This is also 1541. You guys have all seen 1541s before, so. Made in Hong Kong. Well, no wonder this one was heavy. These things are beasts. Number 3. And this is one of those springy ones. My original Commodore disk drive was the latch type rather than these. Well, I don't know, they're both latching, but you know, the kind where you turn, the ones that we just looked at. And it was actually like kind of unique when I saw one of these. I think one of my friend, maybe my friend Darren from GrewTube and my podcasts, I think he might have had one of these. It's funny how even something like that is such a divide in the Commodore world. Which disk drive latch you had, you know, if you had a disk drive. Yes, cassette users unite. Remember, I did start with a cassette. Okay, that's number 7. We're in the home stretch. Oh, man. Okay, here's number 8. Looks like more disk drives. This one looks special. So we'll save that for last. These ones look like 1541s. Yep, there's another 1541. Okay, if it's heavy, it's a disk drive. Okay, there we go. This one's been modified, another 1541, but it does have a toggle switch over here, labeled 8 and 9. That's a fairly simple mod you can make. Just run a toggle switch and solder it. There's a couple jumpers inside. It's too bad Commodore didn't just provide a switch built in, but they didn't. Yeah, I think maybe all the disk drives are made in Hong Kong. I don't know for sure, but one in and one out. Okay, well, I always thought it was a slimline disk drive or something, but it's it's a Commodore 64 again. Okay, and yet another made in Canada one. I like how some say model 64 and some say model C64. You know, when they're really all the same model. That's just how Commodore was about these things. They didn't get too hung up on it. I might get hung up on it, but they didn't. They're just, whatever. Call it whatever. Just ship it. Just sell it to somebody. That was the rule. Okay, so that's number 8. There's one more about the same size. I wonder if it's more disk drives. Number 9 might be very similar. And then the really big one is number 10. Oh, so yeah, this one is the same size as the last, but way heavier. Wow. Relay MP. Okay, this one was taped up with heavier duty tape. The right tape for the job. And it is a huge load of Commodore magazines. Yeah, at that weight, I sort of suspected it. Okay, lots of runs. Commodore magazine. Commodore Power Play. Run. Ooh, special issue number 2. Run. I don't know if I can fit that all on camera. I just don't have enough room actually to slide it up with it oriented the right way for the camera. I wonder if these are like complete sets or something. No, actually they can't be, I think, because Run... I don't know if I've ever had Run special issue number 2, 1986. The Best of Magic, over 500 helpful hints and tips. Those magic tips are pretty cool. Oh, that's going to be hard to get that back in there. You know what? I'm just going to lay it on top and not beat it up more. Oh, did I do that? Commodore magazine in 1989? Is that still going? So I must not have at least some of these issues. I don't think I knew that Commodore's own magazine was still going in 1989. But yeah, it says volume 10, number 7. I think I totally lost touch that this magazine was still going then. So this, I don't know if it still was at this point, but Commodore had its own magazine, but they were actually pretty good at not only promoting, Commodore stuff, at least on the software level. I think they're pretty unbiased. But anyway, for people saying this is like a USA magazine, right? Like made in USA. And for people saying that the 64 was dead and like the Amiga, nobody bought an Amiga in the USA or in Canada for that matter. This is my uncle's collection in Canada. Here we are, July 1989. And like there's a whole bunch of Commodore 64 reviews right here. Software, new software. And here's a whole bunch of Amiga software, 1989. So, I mean, that's fine if you say, oh, it wasn't as popular as in other places. Well, that might be true. But to say, oh, it was dead or nobody had one or everybody was playing Nintendo, flat out lie, flat out falsehood. Anyway, okay. I won't go on about that. Maybe that's something that could be looked at sometime. So you guys make sure you leave comments about what you want me to cover out of all this. Like what's the most interesting? What is stuff that you don't think anybody has covered on YouTube before, or you want my take on it, or whatever. Of anything that I've shown today. There's still one more box. I'm just kind of like resting up before I carry this last one. I think it might kill me. Well, I sure hope not. Oh, wow. Magazines are heavy. I should weigh this. I wonder how much does that weigh? Oh, boy. Okay, here we go. Okay, this box is a lot bigger. There we go. Yes, it's even more. It is more magazines. But not quite as dense as that for the size of the box. Okay, we've got some kind of like binders here. These come out. Oh. That's tricky. This seems like, well, since it's the last one, I don't have to put this one away right away. Okay, lots of magazines here. Tip this up. Come on. Yeah, I can slide the whole thing out. More magazines, but I think this is quite a bit of stuff I've never seen before. Okay, what we got first here? Lots of T-Pug. Okay, so we'll actually look at the covers of these just because I think a lot of you have never seen T-Pug magazines compared to, Run magazines, so much more common, I think. So here we go, T-Pug, Commodore's Orphan Computers, C16 plus 4, B128, VIC-20, and PAT. Yeah, they, a lot of people did buy, not necessarily all of those, but in a group like the Toronto Pet Users Group that started in the 70s, a lot of those people would have bought things like PATs, VIC-20s, and even these other computers, the B128, which I have one, thanks to Golan. So that might be an interesting one to look at sometime. C128 issue. Well, this one's mentioning the Super PAT, the interior of the smart interior of a Commodore disk drive. More from Butterfield. It's an extra thick one. Telecommunications. Jim Butterfield painting. Oh, sorry about the glare. I can only do so much about that. Let's see if I tip them here. T-Pug magazine, computer music. Why is Mona Lisa on there? Oh, artificial intelligence. Look, they're talking about that in 1986. Commodore. Disk drive. Oh, the Commodore Executive 64. Hey, it's that robot. Randy Robot. Oh, another copy of that C128 issue. There and there. Okay, so that's the official T-Pug magazine, the users group. They actually produced a full magazine, and then they continued to publish a newsletter for ages after. Even pretty recently, I don't think there's been any issues for a while, but I might be wrong. They became very sporadic, but they were still being made even pretty recently. Okay, and then this Torpet magazine, if I understand correctly, this started before the T-Pug magazine. Yeah, and it even says here, the independent Commodore Users magazine, But the reason Tor, I think, was for Toronto. So it was, for a while, it was not official, but it was kind of the accepted newsletter or leading magazine for the area for the Toronto Pet Users Group people. But then I think TPUG wanted to start up their own. They couldn't reach an agreement, so this went independent. I apologize if I'm wrong about that. What next from Commodore? A handheld computer? Oh, wouldn't that be so cool? The big Commodore? Like, I love these from Sharp and so on. Doesn't look like she actually plays keyboard very well, but anyway. Number 22. Guess I'm flipping all these around. Some of the famous pictures. This might be the issue with the actual Jim Butterfield article where they went to his house and talked to him. And Jim loved pets and his pets as well. That's really cool. I don't think I had one of those, so that's fantastic to have that one in particular. Commodore Computer 25th anniversary in 1983. Okay, Tor Pet. Oh, and then here's lots of Transactor magazines. And this is my favorite magazine as a kid. Amazing. Okay, well, there's a few issues. Oh, there's more. More TPUG. So yeah, I didn't have nearly this many TPUG magazines before, so this is great. Lots of good reading in here. There's so many interesting facts that were only covered in one magazine or another. Little bits of history that aren't very consequential. Like in the big picture, they don't mean much at all. But they're just super interesting. When I get into more and more nerdy stuff, I just find the history that's documented in these magazines to be fascinating. Oh, and here it is. I showed this issue long, long ago. But this was the very first Transactor magazine I ever bought. The Transition to Machine Language. And this was a hugely impactful magazine on me. And and this magazine, if you don't know, this is like the one, well, I shouldn't say the one, because obviously there were a couple other here Canadian-made Commodore magazines. But this is the one that was so technical, just amazing, kind of legendary. So here's Carl Hilden. Editor. Oh, and this was a great issue here. Programming Aids and Utilities. I love this artwork. It's the hockey goalie interface to C64 with a very special keyboard. Yeah, I bought almost all these when they came out. So a lot of these are doubles, but I'll go around. Maybe if nobody else, Ken from Canadian Retro Things is going to get some new extra magazines next year when he comes back. This was one I never got in the day, and it wasn't until much later I finally got a copy of this one, and the art really stands out as being pretty impressive. I think that's because I was in Australia in 1987, so I missed a couple 1987 issues. At least a couple. Oh yeah, and this is after Carl left the magazine sometime around there, and they switched the art style. They got rid of the awesome paintings and went to kind of photos and this different design. Which isn't horrible, but I'm very loyal to Carl's era and these paintings he had a guy he knew do for each one. Amiga, and this is when they started getting more and more Amiga. Although they're actually advertising this Amiga for the Transactor for the Amiga. And they started covering the Amiga. I remember buying that one on the rack, and I think that one. Oh yeah, and here, this was the 1 megabyte C64. Oh, that might have been the last issue ever in August 1989. It's particularly awesome to have all these Canadian Commodore magazines. And here, more Computes Gazette. I do need to go through Like, I may be close or have complete collections of some of these magazines, like Compute's Gazette. I really have to take stock of them sometime. So those are cool too, of course. Ah, it weighs a ton. Okay, so this is like a big binder. It's hard to fit in here. Okay, each issue... Oh, they're little like hangers. I don't know if I've ever seen these before. Here's the issue. But it has... Yeah, it's some sort of like plastic hanger that you just kind of loop through the magazine and then you can put it in a binder. These binders weigh an absolute ton, but it's still kind of a neat way of organizing everything. Okay, so that's probably all of 1985. Kind of coincidentally, this is the one year I lived in Toronto, and I have these memories of, like, I was kind of magazine deprived. I didn't know where to buy them in my part of Toronto, and I was just, 12 years old or whatever. Didn't have much independence, didn't have any money. I wasn't earning any money in Toronto. So then I found out that my school there, CR Marchant, had Compute's Gazette in the school library. And I think I was able to borrow one issue, or I don't know if they always got it, but there was an issue there. I think it was this one, in fact. I brought home and I typed in a listing on my C64 that I had at home. It took me a while to make any friends there in Toronto too. But Dwayne, with the Vectrex, if you're watching, I want to hear from you. What happened to you? Okay, so these are all, I won't go through all those, but that's Compute's Gazette. Great magazine. And of course, Compute's Gazette has recently come back. A little weird that they use Compute's Gazette name, but they're covering all retro computers, which is exactly what Compute did. So, and Compute Gazette was focused on Commodore. So that's okay. I'm glad they're doing what they are doing. I got the first issue, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. Some people are telling me I should try and write for Compute's Gazette. Writing is sometimes like the hardest part about making videos, so I don't know, but it would be an honor to get published at least once. Kind of try to emulate my hero Jim Butterfield and do at least one issue like him. Okay, so here's like 1986 in Compute's Gazette. Okay, wow. Amazing. Just underline this, Compute's Gazette. Here we are, 1989 issues. Here, 1990 issues. So for people who say the 64 was dead in North America, nobody bought a C64 after 1985 or whatever. I mean, these magazines weren't charities and they weren't government backed. They were profitable businesses, and they were still publishing, here in 1990. That is a dedicated Commodore 64 magazine. June, that may have been the last in-print one ever. I can't remember, for a standalone magazine, June 1990. But the point is, a for-profit magazine was still going in the USA in June of 1990. Then Gazette got rolled back into the main Compute magazine, which was bought by the same company as Omni, I believe. There was a Compute Gazette insert in Compute magazine, which had mostly moved on to, more modern MS-DOS and all that kind of stuff, and to the early versions of Windows. But it continued on after that, and then it even went disc only for a little while. Yeah, that's another video. If nobody else makes it, eventually I want to make a video about so many of these things. But if you are a video maker and you get inspired to cover any of these things I've just mentioned offhand or shown here, go for it. I'm usually pretty happy when somebody covers something I want to cover. As long as they do a good job of it, then I can work on something else. So we've got through all the boxes. Thanks to Uncle Mike for all this great 8-bit stuff. Thanks to my wife's aunt and cousins for taking good care of us while we stayed there in Barrie. No thanks to Car Solutions Canada Incorporated for the worst customer experience I've ever had on a big ticket purchase. In fact, I think it was the worst shopping experience I've had in my life. I'm trying to think if there's been a worse one. At least as long as I keep my $1,000 deposit, it's definitely the worst. I've never gotten nothing for $1,000 before. In fact, it cost me more because then, anyway, whatever. Okay, I won't talk about that anymore unless there's news in the future. Okay, thanks to my patrons for their support. Thanks to you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Found you were sleeping, maybe half dead, sort of waking. You couldn't remember yesterday, but you remembered my name. I took you, nearly carried you. The underlying condition was in view. It'll have the last laugh, it'll have the last word, but you've still got another turn.